Jiri Bala put aside her habitual reserve, relaxing into a conversational mood. So be it. Her voice was low and firm. I was born in these forest regions. My childhood was unremarkable save that I was possessed by an insatiable appetite. I had been betrothed in early years. Child, my mother often warned me, try to control your greed. When the time comes for you to live among strangers in your husband's family, what will they think of you if your days are spent in nothing but eating? The calamity she had foreseen came to pass. I was only 12 when I joined my husband's people in Nawabganj. My mother-in-law shamed me morning, noon, and night about my gluttonous habits. Her scoldings were a blessing in disguise. However, they roused my dormant spiritual tendencies. One morning her ridicule was merciless. I shall soon prove to you, I said, stung to the quick, that I shall never touch food again as long as I live. My mother-in-law laughed in derision. So, she said, how can you live without eating when you cannot live without overeating? This remark was unanswerable. Yet an iron resolution scaffolded my spirit. In a secluded spot I sought my heavenly Father. Lord, I prayed incessantly, please send me a guru, one who can teach me to live by thy light and not by food. A divine ecstasy fell over me. Led by a beatific spell, I set out for the Nawabganj Ghat on the Ganges. On the way I encountered the priest of my husband's family. Venerable sir, I said trustingly, kindly tell me how to live without eating. He stared at me without reply. Finally he spoke in a consoling manner. Child, he said, come to the temple this evening. I will conduct a special Vedic ceremony for you. This vague answer was not the one I was seeking. I continued toward the Ghat. The morning sun pierced the waters. I purified myself in the Ganges, as though for a sacred initiation. As I left the river bank, my wet cloth around me, in the broad glare of day my master materialized himself before me. Dear little one, he said in a voice of loving compassion, I am the guru sent here by God to fulfill your urgent prayer. He was deeply touched by its very unusual nature. From today you shall live by the astral light, your bodily atoms fed from the infinite current. Jiri Bala fell into silence. I took Mr. Wright's pencil and pad and translated into English a few items for his information. The saint resumed the tale, her gentle voice barely audible. The Ghat was deserted, but my guru cast round us an aura of guarding light, that no stray bathers later disturb us. He initiated me into a Kriya technique which frees the body from dependence on the gross food of mortals. The technique includes the use of a certain mantra 46 to 8, and a breathing exercise more difficult than the average person could perform. No medicine or magic is involved, nothing beyond the Kriya. In the manner of the American newspaper reporter who had unknowingly taught me his procedure, I questioned Jiri Bala on many matters which I thought would be of interest to the world. She gave me, bit by bit, the following information. I have never had any children. Many years ago I became a widow. I sleep very little, as sleep and waking are the same to me. I meditate at night, attending to my domestic duties in the daytime. I slightly feel the change in climate from season to season. I have never been sick or experienced any disease. I feel only slight pain when accidentally injured. I have no bodily excretions. I can control my heart and breathing. I often see my guru as well as other great souls in vision. Mother, I asked, why don't you teach others the method of living without food? My ambitious hopes for the world's starving millions were nipped in the bud. No. She shook her head. I was strictly commanded by my guru not to divulge the secret. It is not his wish to tamper with God's drama of creation. The farmers would not thank me if I taught many people to live without eating. The luscious fruits would lie uselessly on the ground. It appears that misery, starvation, and disease are whips of our karma which ultimately drive us to seek the true meaning of life. Mother, I said slowly, what is the use of your having been singled out to live without eating? To prove that man is spirit. Her face lit with wisdom, to demonstrate that by divine advancement he can gradually learn to live by the eternal light and not by food. The saint sank into a deep meditative state. Her gaze was directed inward, The gentle depths of her eyes became expressionless. She gave a certain sigh, the prelude to the ecstatic, breathless trance. For a time she had fled to the questionless realm, the heaven of inner joy. The tropical darkness had fallen. The light of a small kerosene lamp flickered fitfully over the faces of a score of villagers squatting silently in the shadows. The darting glowworms and distant oil lanterns of the huts wove bright, eerie patterns into the velvet night. It was the painful hour of parting. A slow, tedious journey lay before our little party. "Jiri Bala," I said as the saint opened her eyes, "please give me a keepsake strip of one of your saris." She soon returned with a piece of Benier's silk, extending it in her hand as she suddenly prostrated herself on the ground. "Mother," I said reverently, "rather let me touch your own blessed feet." 46-1, in northern Bengal, 46-2. H. Sabijay Chand Mahtab now dead. His family doubtless possesses some record of the Maharaja's 3 investigations of Jiri Bala. 46-3, woman Yogi. 46-4, remover of obstacles, the god of good fortune. 46-5, Sri Yuktiswar used to say, "The Lord has given us the fruits of the good earth. We like to see our food, to smell it, to taste it. The Hindu likes also to touch it. One does not mind hearing it either if no one else is present at the meal." 46-6, Mr. Wright also took moving pictures of Sri Yuktiswar during his last winter solstice festival in Serampore. 46-7, what we eat is radiation. Our food is so much quanta of energy. Dr. George W. Cryle of Cleveland told a gathering of medical men on May 17, 1933 in Memphis. This all-important radiation, which releases electrical currents for the body's electrical circuit, the nervous system, is given to food by the sun's rays. Atoms, Dr. Cryle says, are solar systems. Atoms are the vehicles that are filled with solar radiance as so many coiled springs. These countless atomfuls of energy are taken in as food. Once in the human body, these tense vehicles, the atoms, are discharged in the body's protoplasm, the radiance furnishing new chemical energy, new electrical currents. Your body is made up of such atoms, Dr. Cryle said. They are your muscles, brains, and sensory organs, such as the eyes and ears. Someday scientists will discover how man can live directly on solar energy. Chlorophyll is the only substance known in nature that somehow possesses the power to act as a sunlight trap. William L. Lawrence writes in the New York Times. It catches the energy of sunlight and stores it in the plant. Without this, no life could exist. We obtain the energy we need for living from the solar energy stored in the plant food we eat, or in the flesh of the animals that eat the plants. The energy we obtain from coal or oil is solar energy trapped by the chlorophyll in plant life millions of years ago. We live by the sun through the agency of chlorophyll. 46-8, potent vibratory chant. The literal translation of Sanskrit mantra is instrument of thought, signifying the ideal, inaudible sounds which represent one aspect of creation. When vocalized as syllables, a mantra constitutes a universal terminology. The infinite powers of sound derive from Aum, the word or creative hum of the cosmic motor. Chapter 47. I return to the West. I have given many yoga lessons in India and America, but I must confess that as a Hindu I am unusually happy to be conducting a class for English students. My London class members laughed appreciatively. No political turmoils ever disturbed our yoga peace. India was now a hallowed memory. It is September 1936. I am in England to fulfill a promise given 16 months earlier to lecture again in London. England, too, is receptive to the timeless yoga message. Reporters and newsreel cameramen swarmed over my quarters at Grosvenor House. The British National Council of the World Fellowship of Faiths organised a meeting on September 29th at Whitefield's Congregational Church, where I addressed the audience on the weighty subject of how faith in fellowship may save civilization. The 8 o'clock lectures at Caxton Hall attracted such crowds that on 2 nights the overflow waited in Windsor House Auditorium for my second talk at 9:30. Yoga classes during the following weeks grew so large that Mr. Wright was obliged to arrange a transfer to another hall. The English tenacity has admirable expression in a spiritual relationship. The London yoga students loyally organized themselves, after my departure, into a self-realization fellowship center, holding their meditation meetings weekly throughout the bitter war years. Unforgettable weeks in England, days of sightseeing in London, then over the beautiful countryside. Mr. Wright and I summoned the trusty Ford to visit the birthplaces and tombs of the great poets and heroes of British history. Our little party sailed from Southampton for America in late October on the Bremen. The majestic Statue of Liberty in New York Harbor brought a joyous emotional gulp not only to the throats of Miss Bletch and Mr. Wright, but to my own. The Ford, a bit battered from struggles with ancient soils, was still puissant. It now took in its stride the transcontinental trip to California. In late 1936, Mount Washington. The year-end holidays are celebrated annually at the Los Angeles Center with an 8-hour group meditation on December 24th, Spiritual Christmas, followed the next day by a banquet, Social Christmas. The festivities this year were augmented by the presence of dear friends and students from distant cities, who had arrived to welcome home the 3 world travelers. The Christmas Day feast included delicacies brought 15,000 miles for this glad occasion. Gukai mushrooms from Kashmir, canned rasagulla and mango pulp, papar biscuits, and an oil of the Indian Kiora flour which flavoured our ice cream. The evening found us grouped around a huge sparkling Christmas tree, the nearby fireplace crackling with logs of aromatic cypress. Gift time, presents from the earth's far corners: Palestine, Egypt, India, England, France, Italy. How laboriously had Mr. Wright counted the trunks at each foreign junction, that no pilfering hand received the treasures intended for loved ones in America. Plaques of the sacred olive tree from the Holy Land, delicate laces and embroideries from Belgium and Holland, Persian carpets, finely woven Kashmiri shawls, everlastingly fragrant sandalwood trays from Mysore, Shiva bull's eye stones from central provinces, old Indian coins of dynasties long fled, bejeweled vases and cups, miniatures, tapestries, temple incense and perfumes, Swadeshi cotton prints, lacquer work, Mysore ivory carvings, Persian slippers with their inquisitive long toe, quaint old illuminated manuscripts, velvets, brocades, Gandhi caps, potteries, tiles, brasswork, prayer rugs, booty of 3 continents. One by one I distributed the gaily wrapped packages from the immense pile under the tree. Sister Jayana Mata, I handed a long box to the saintly American lady of sweet visage and deep realization who, during my absence, had been in charge at MT Washington. From the paper tissues she lifted a sari of golden Benares silk. Thank you, sir, it brings the pageant of India before my eyes. Mr. Dickinson. The next parcel contained a gift which I had bought in a Calcutta bazaar. Mr. Dickinson will like this, I had thought at the time. A dearly beloved disciple, Mr. Dickinson had been present at every Christmas festivity since the 1925 founding of MT Washington. At this 11th annual celebration, he was standing before me, untying the ribbons of his square little package. The silver cup. Struggling with emotion, he stared at the present, a tall drinking cup. He seated himself some distance away, apparently in a daze. I smiled at him affectionately before resuming my role as Santa Claus. The ejaculatory evening closed with a prayer to the giver of all gifts, then a group singing of Christmas carols. Mr. Dickinson and I were chatting together some time later. Sir, he said, please let me thank you now for the silver cup. I could not find any words on Christmas night. I brought the gift especially for you. For 43 years I have been waiting for that silver cup. It is a long story, one I have kept hidden within me. Mr. Dickinson looked at me shyly. The beginning was dramatic. I was drowning. My older brother had playfully pushed me into a 15-foot pool in a small town in Nebraska. I was only 5 years old then. As I was about to sink for the second time under the water, a dazzling multicolored light appeared, filling all space. In the midst was the figure of a man with tranquil eyes and a reassuring smile. My body was sinking for the third time when one of my brother's companions bent a tall, slender willow tree in such a low dip that I could grasp it with my desperate fingers. The boys lifted me to the bank and successfully gave me first aid treatment. 12 years later, a youth of 17, I visited Chicago with my mother. It was 1893. The great world parliament of religions was in session. Mother and I were walking down a main street, when again I saw the mighty flash of light. A few paces away, strolling leisurely along, was the same man I had seen years before in vision. He approached a large auditorium and vanished within the door. "Mother," I cried, "that was the man who appeared at the time I was drowning." She and I hastened into the building. The man was seated on a lecture platform. We soon learned that he was Swami Vivekananda of India. 47-1 after he had given a soul-stirring talk. I went forward to meet him. He smiled on me graciously, as though we were old friends. I was so young that I did not know how to give expression to my feelings, but in my heart I was hoping that he would offer to be my teacher. He read my thought. "No, my son, I am not your guru." Vivekananda gazed with his beautiful, piercing eyes deep into my own. "Your teacher will come later. He will give you a silver cup." After a little pause, he added, smiling, "He will pour out to you more blessings than you are now able to hold." I left Chicago in a few days, Mr. Dickinson went on, and never saw the great Vivekananda again. But every word he had uttered was indelibly written on my inmost consciousness. Years passed, no teacher appeared. One night in 1925 I prayed deeply that the Lord would send me my guru. A few hours later, I was awakened from sleep by soft strains of melody. A band of celestial beings, carrying flutes and other instruments, came before my view. After filling the air with glorious music, the angels slowly vanished. The next evening I attended, for the first time, one of your lectures here in Los Angeles, and knew then that my prayer had been granted. We smiled at each other in silence. For 11 years now I have been your Kriya Yoga disciple, Mr. Dickinson continued. Sometimes I wondered about the silver cup. I had almost persuaded myself that Vivekananda's words were only metaphorical. But on Christmas night, as you handed me the square box by the tree, I saw for the third time in my life the same dazzling flash of light. In another minute I was gazing on my guru's gift, which Vivekananda had foreseen for me 43 years earlier, a silver cup. Mr. E. Dickinson of Los Angeles. He sought a silver cup 47-1, the chief disciple of the Christ-like Master Sri Ramakrishna. Chapter 48 at Encinitas in California. A surprise, sir. During your absence abroad we have had this Encinitas hermitage built. It is a welcome home gift. Sister Jayanamata smilingly led me through a gate and up a tree-shaded walk. I saw a building jutting out like a great white ocean liner toward the blue brine. First speechlessly, then with O's and R's, finally with man's insufficient vocabulary of joy and gratitude, I examined the ashram's 16 unusually large rooms, each one charmingly appointed. Encinitas, California, overlooking the Pacific, main building and part of the grounds of the Self-Realization Fellowship, the stately central hall, with immense ceiling-high windows, looks out on a united altar of grass, ocean, Skya symphony in emerald, opal, sapphire. A mantle over the hall's huge fireplace holds the framed likeness of Lahiri Mahasaya, smiling his blessing over this far Pacific heaven. Directly below the hall, built into the very bluff, 2 solitary meditation caves confront the infinities of sky and sea. Verandas, sunbathing nooks, acres of orchard, a eucalypti grove, flagstone paths leading through roses and lilies to quiet arbours. A long flight of stairs ending on an isolated beach and the vast waters. Was dream ever more concrete? May the good and heroic and bountiful souls of the saints come here, reads a prayer for a dwelling, from the Zendavesta, fastened on one of the hermitage doors, and may they go hand in hand with us, giving the healing virtues of their blessed gifts as widespread as the earth, as far-flung as the rivers, as high-reaching as the sun, for the furtherance of better men, for the increase of abundance and glory. May obedience conquer disobedience within this house, may peace triumph here over discord, free-hearted giving over avarice, truthful speech over deceit, reverence over contempt, that our minds be delighted, and our souls uplifted, let our bodies be glorified as well. And O light divine, may we see thee, and may we, approaching, come round about thee, and attain unto thine entire companionship. This self-realization fellowship, ashram, had been made possible through the generosity of a few American disciples, American businessmen of endless responsibilities, who yet find time daily for their Kriya Yoga. Not a word of the hermitage construction had been allowed to reach me during my stay in India and Europe. Astonishment, delight. During my earlier years in America, I had combed the coast of California in quest of a small site for a seaside ashram. Whenever I had found a suitable location, some obstacle had invariably arisen to thwart me. Gazing now over the broad acres of Encinitas, 48-1 humbly, I saw the effortless fulfillment of Sri Yukteswar's long-ago prophecy. A hermitage by the ocean. A few months later, Easter of 1937, I conducted on the smooth lawns at Encinitas the first of many sunrise services. Like the Magi of old, several hundred students gazed in devotional awe at the daily miracle, the early solar fire right in the eastern sky. To the west lay the inexhaustible Pacific, booming its solemn praise, in the distance a tiny white sailing boat and the lonely flight of a seagull. Christ, thou art risen, not alone with the vernal sun, but in the eternal dawn of spirit. Many happy months sped by. In the peace of perfect beauty, I was able to complete at the Hermitage a long-projected work, Cosmic Chants. I set to English words and Western musical notation about 40 songs, some original, others my adaptations of ancient melodies. Included were the Shankara chant, No Birth, No Death, two favourites of Sri Yukteswar's, Wake yet wake, O my saint, and Desire, my great enemy, the hoary Sanskrit hymn to Brahma, old Bengali songs, What lightning flash, and They have heard thy name, Tagore's Who is in my temple, and a number of my compositions, I will be thine always, in the land beyond my dreams, come out of the silent sky. Listen to my soul call, in the temple of silence, and thou art my life. For a preface to the songbook, I recounted my first outstanding experience with the receptivity of Westerners to the quaintly devotional airs of the East. The occasion had been a public lecture. The time, April 18, 1926, the place, Carnegie Hall in New York. Mr. Hunsaker, I had confided to an American student, I am planning to ask the audience to sing an ancient Hindu chant, O God Beautiful. Sir, Mr. Hunsaker had protested, these Oriental songs are alien to American understanding. What a shame if the lecture were to be marred by a commentary of overripe tomatoes. I had laughingly disagreed. Music is a universal language. Americans will not fail to feel the soul aspiration in this lofty chant. 48-2, during the lecture, Mr. Hunsaker had sat behind me on the platform, probably fearing for my safety. His doubts were groundless. Not only had there been an absence of unwelcome vegetables, but for 1 hour and 25 minutes the strains of O God Beautiful had sounded uninterruptedly from 3,000 throats. Blasé no longer, dear New Yorkers. Your hearts had soared out in a simple paean of rejoicing. Divine healings had taken place that evening among the devotees chanting with love the Lord's blessed name. The secluded life of a literary minstrel was not my role for long. Soon I was dividing every fortnight between Los Angeles and Encinitas. Sunday services, classes, lectures before clubs and colleges, interviews with students, ceaseless streams of correspondence, articles for East-West, direction of activities in India and numerous small centres in American cities. Much time was given, also, to the arrangement of Kriya and other self-realization fellowship teachings into a series of studies for the distant yoga seekers, whose zeal recognized no limitation of space. joyous dedication of a self-realization church of all religions took place in 1938 at Washington, D.C. Set amidst landscaped grounds, the stately church stands in a section of the city aptly called Friendship Heights. The Washington leader is Swami Paramananda, educated at the Ranchi School and Calcutta University. I had summoned him in 1928 to assume leadership of the Washington Self-Realization Fellowship Center. Paramananda, I told him during a visit to his new temple, this eastern headquarters is a memorial in stone to your tireless devotion. Here in the nation's capital you have held aloft the light of Lahiri Mahasaya's ideals. Paramananda accompanied me from Washington for a brief visit to the Self-Realization Fellowship Center in Boston. What joy to see again the Kriya Yoga band who had remained steadfast since 1920. The Boston leader, Dr. M.W. Lewis, lodged my companion and myself in a modern, artistically decorated suite. "Sir," Dr. Lewis said to me, smiling, "during your early years in America you stayed in this city in a single room without bath. I wanted you to know that Boston possesses some luxurious apartments." The shadows of approaching carnage were lengthening over the world. Already the acute ear might hear the frightful drums of war. During interviews with thousands in California and through a worldwide correspondence, I found that men and women were deeply searching their hearts. The tragic outer insecurity had emphasized need for the eternal anchorage. "We have indeed learned the value of meditation," the leader of the London Self-Realization Fellowship Center wrote me in 1941, "and know that nothing can disturb our inner peace." In the last few weeks during the meetings, we have heard air raid warnings and listened to the explosion of delayed action bombs, but our students still gather and thoroughly enjoy our beautiful service. Another letter reached me from war-torn England just before America entered the conflict. In nobly pathetic words, Dr. L. Cranmer Byng, noted editor of the Wisdom of the East series, wrote, "When I read East-West I realized how far apart we seem to be, apparently living in two different worlds. Beauty, order, calm and peace come to me from Los Angeles, sailing into port as a vessel laden with the blessings and comfort of the Holy Grail to a beleaguered city. I see as in a dream your palm tree grove, and the temple at Encinitas with its ocean stretches and mountain views, and above all its fellowship of spiritually minded men and women, a community comprehended in unity, absorbed in creative work, and replenished in contemplation. It is the world of my own vision, in the making of which I hope to bear my little part, and now, perhaps in the body, I shall never reach your golden shores nor worship in your temple. But it is something and more, to have had the vision, and know that in the midst of war there is still a peace that abides in your harbours and among your hills. Greetings to all the fellowship from a common soldier, written on the watchtower waiting for the dawn. The war years brought a spiritual awakening among men whose diversions had never before included a study of the New Testament, one sweet distilment from the bitter herbs of war. To satisfy a growing need, an inspiring little self-realization church of all religions was built and dedicated in 1942 at Hollywood. The site faces Olive Hill and the distant Los Angeles Planetarium. The church, finished in blue, white and gold, is reflected amidst the water hyacinths in a large pool. The gardens are gay with flowers, a few startled stone deer, a stained glass pergola, and a quaint wishing well, thrown in with the pennies and the kaleidoscopic wishes of man, has been many a pure aspiration for the sole treasure of spirit. A universal benignity flows from small niches, with statues of Lahiri Mahasaya and Sri Yukteswar, and of Krishna, Buddha, Confucius, St. Francis, and a beautiful mother-of-pearl reproduction of Christ at the Last Supper. Self-Realization Church of All Religions, Hollywood, California. Another Self-Realization Church of All Religions was founded in 1943 at San Diego. A quiet hilltop temple, it stands in a sloping valley of eucalypti, overlooking sparkling San Diego Bay. Self-Realization Church of All Religions, San Diego, California, sitting one evening in this tranquil haven, I was pouring out my heart in song. Under my fingers was the sweet-toned organ of the church. On my lips the yearning plaint of an ancient Bengali devotee who had searched for eternal solace. In this world, mother, none can love me. In this world they do not know love divine. Where is their pure loving love? Where is their truly loving thee? There my heart longs to be. My companion in the chapel, Dr. Lloyd Kennel, the San Diego Center leader, was smiling a little at the words of the song. Tell me truly, Paramahansaji, has it been worth it? He gazed at me with an earnest sincerity. I understood his laconic question. Have you been happy in America? What about the disillusionments, the heartaches, the center leaders who could not lead, the students who could not be taught? Blessed is the man whom the Lord doth test, Doctor. He has remembered now and then to put a burden on me. I thought then of all the faithful ones, of the love and devotion and understanding that lay in the heart of America. With slow emphasis I went on, but my answer is, yes, 1,000 times yes, it has been worthwhile. It has been a constant inspiration, more than ever I dreamed, to see West and East brought closer in the only lasting bond, the spiritual. Silently I added a prayer. May Babaji and Sri Yukteswarji feel that I have done my part, not disappointing the high hope in which they sent me forth. I turned again to the organ. This time my song was tinged with a martial valour. The grinding wheel of time doth mar full many a life of moon and star, and many a brightly smiling morn, but still my soul is marching on. Darkness, death, and failures vied. To block my path they fiercely tried. My fight with jealous natures strong, but still my soul is marching on. New Year's week of 1945 found me at work in my Encinitas study, revising the manuscript of this book. Paramahansaji, please come outdoors. Dr. Lewis, on a visit from Boston, smiled at me pleadingly from outside my window. Soon we were strolling in the sunshine. My companion pointed to new towers in process of construction along the edge of the fellowship property adjoining the coast highway. Sir, I see many improvements here since my last visit. Dr. Lewis comes twice annually from Boston to Encinitas. Yes, Doctor, a project I have long considered is beginning to take definite form. In these beautiful surroundings I have started a miniature world colony. Brotherhood is an ideal better understood by example than precept. A small harmonious group here may inspire other ideal communities over the earth. The Self-Realization Church of All Religions in Washington, D.C., whose leader Swami Pramananda is here pictured with me, a splendid idea, sir. The colony will surely be a success if everyone sincerely does his part. World is a large term, but man must enlarge his allegiance, considering himself in the light of a world citizen. I continued. A person who truly feels, the world is my homeland. It is my America, my India, my Philippines, my England, my Africa, will never lack scope for a useful and happy life. His natural local pride will know limitless expansion. He will be in touch with creative universal currents. Dr. Lewis and I halted above the lotus pool near the Hermitage. Below us lay the illimitable Pacific. These same waters break equally on the coasts of West and East in California and China. My companion threw a little stone into the first of the oceanic 70 million square miles. Encinitas is a symbolic spot for a world colony. That is true. Doctor, we shall arrange here for many conferences and congresses of religion, inviting delegates from all lands. Flags of the nations will hang in our halls. Diminutive temples will be built over the grounds, dedicated to the world's principal religions. As soon as possible, I went on, I plan to open a yoga institute here. The blessed role of Kriya Yoga in the West has hardly more than just begun. May all men come to know that there is a definite, scientific technique of self-realization for the overcoming of all human misery. Speakers at a 1945 interracial meeting in San Francisco during the convening of the Peace Conference. Left to right, Dr. Maynard Anclisaria, John Cohey, myself, Hugh E., Macbeth, Vince M. Far into the night my dear friend the first Kriya Yogi in America, discussed with me the need for world colonies founded on a spiritual basis. The ills attributed to an anthropomorphic abstraction called society may be laid more realistically at the door of everyman. Utopia must spring in the private bosom before it can flower in civic virtue. Man is a soul, not an institution. His inner reforms alone can lend permanence to outer ones. By stress on spiritual values, self-realization, a colony exemplifying world brotherhood is empowered to send inspiring vibrations far beyond its locale. August 15, 1945, close of global war Roman II. End of a world, dawn of an enigmatic atomic age. The Hermitage residents gathered in the main hall for a prayer of thanksgiving. Heavenly Father, may never it be again. Thy children go henceforth as brothers. Gone was the tension of war years, our spirits purred in the sun of peace. I gazed happily at each of my American comrades. Lord, I thought gratefully, thou hast given this monk a large family. 48-1, a small town on Coast Highway 101 Encinitas is 100 miles south of Los Angeles and 25 miles north of San Diego. 48-2. I translate here the words of Guru Nanak's song, O God beautiful, O God beautiful. In the forest thou art green, in the mountain thou art high, in the river thou art restless, in the ocean thou art grave. To the serviceful thou art service, to the lover thou art love, to the sorrowful thou art sympathy, to the yogi thou art bliss. O God beautiful, O God beautiful. At thy feet, O I do bow. Updated editions will replace the previous one. The old editions will be renamed. Creating the works from print editions not protected by U.S. Copyright law means that no one owns a United States copyright in these works, so the Foundation and you can copy and distribute it in the United States without permission and without paying copyright royalties. Special rules, set forth in the general terms of use part of this license, apply to copying and distributing project, and may not be used if you charge for an e-book, except by following the terms of the trademark license, including paying royalties for use copies of this e-book. Complying with the trademark license is very easy. You may use this e-book for nearly any purpose, such as creation of derivative works, reports, performances, and research. Project Gutenberg e-books may be modified and printed and given away. You may do practically anything in the United States with e-books not protected by U.S. copyright law. Redistribution is subject to the trademark license, especially commercial redistribution. Start, full license. Please read this before you distribute or use this work. Distribution of electronic works by using or distributing this work, or any other work associated in any way with the phrase Project Gutenberg. You agree to comply with all the terms of the full www.gutenberg.org/license. Electronic works. Electronic work. You indicate that you have read, understand, agree to and accept all the terms of this license and intellectual property, trademark/copyright agreement. If you do not agree to abide by all the terms of this agreement, you must cease using and return or possession. If you paid a fee for obtaining a copy of or access to by the terms of this agreement, you may obtain a refund from the person or entity to whom you paid the fee as set forth in paragraph 1. 8. Used on or associated in any way with an electronic work by people who agree to be bound by the terms of this agreement. There are a few, even without complying with the full terms of this agreement. See paragraph 1. See below. There are a lot of things you can do with Project Gutenberg electronic works if you follow the terms of this electronic works. See paragraph 1, E below. Foundation, or PGLAF, owns a compilation copyright in the collection. Works in the collection are in the public domain in the United States. If an individual work is unprotected by copyright law in the United States, and you are located in the United States, we do not claim a right to prevent you from copying, distributing, performing, displaying, or creating derivative works based on the work as long as works in compliance with the terms of this agreement. For keeping the comply with the terms of this agreement by keeping this work in the you share it without charge with others. 1. D. The copyright laws of the place where you are located also govern what you can do with this work. Copyright laws in most countries are in a constant state of change. If you are outside the United States, check the laws of your country in addition to the terms of this agreement before downloading, copying, displaying, performing, distributing or creating derivative works based on this work, or any representations concerning the copyright status of any work in any country other than the United States. 1. E1. The following sentence with active links to or other performed, viewed, copied or distributed. This ebook is for the use of anyone anywhere in the United States and most other parts of the world at no cost and with almost no restrictions whatsoever. You may copy it, give it away or reuse it under the terms at www.gutenberg.org. If you are not located in the United States, you will have to check the laws of the country where you are located before using this ebook. Derived from texts not protected by U.S. copyright law does not contain a notice indicating that it is posted with permission of the copyright holder. The work can be copied and distributed to anyone in the United States without paying any fees or charges. If you are redistributing or providing access to a work with the phrase Project Gutenberg associated with or appearing on the work, you must comply either with the requirements of paragraphs 1. E. 1 through 1. E. 7 or trademark as set forth in paragraphs 1. E. 8 or 1 E. 9. With the permission of the copyright holder, your use and distribution must comply with both paragraphs 1. E. 1 through 1. E. 7 and any additional terms imposed by the copyright holder. Additional terms posted with the permission of the copyright holder found at the beginning of this work. License terms from this work or any files containing a part of this one. E. 5. Do not copy, display, perform, distribute or redistribute this electronic work, or any part of this electronic work, without prominently displaying the sentence set forth in paragraph 1. E. 1 with active links or immediate access to the full terms of the Project Gutenberg license. 1 E6. You may convert to and distribute this work in any binary, compressed, marked up, non-proprietary or proprietary form, including any word processing or hypertext form. However, if you provide access other than plain vanilla ASCII or other format used in the official www.gutenberg.org, you must at no additional cost, fee or expense to the user provide a copy, a means of exporting a copy or a means of obtaining a copy upon request of the work in its original plain vanilla ASCII or other form. Any alternate format must include the 1. E7. Do not charge a fee for access to viewing displaying unless you comply with paragraph 1. E8 or 1, E9, 1, E8. You may charge a reasonable fee for copies of or provided that you pay a royalty fee of 20% of the gross profits you derive from you, already used to calculate your applicable taxes. The fee is owed agreed to donate royalties under this paragraph to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation. Royalty payments must be paid within 60 days following each date on which you prepare, or are legally required to prepare, your periodic tax returns. Royalty payments should be clearly marked as such and sent to the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation at the address specified in Literary Archive Foundation. You provide a full refund of any money paid by a user who notifies you in writing or by email within 30 days of receipt that /he license. You must require such a user to return or destroy all copies of the works possessed in a physical medium and discontinue works. You provide, in accordance with paragraph 1, F3, a full refund of any money paid for a work or a replacement copy, if a defect in the electronic work is discovered and reported to you within 90 days of receipt of the work. You comply with all other terms of this agreement for free. 1. E9. If you wish to charge a fee or distribute a Project Gutenberg trademark electronic work or group of works on different terms than are set forth in this agreement, you must obtain permission in writing forth in section 3 below. 1. F. Effort to identify, do copyright research on, transcribe and proofread works not protected by U.S. copyright law in creating the project electronic works, and the medium on which they may be stored, may contain defects, such as but not limited to incomplete, inaccurate or corrupt data, transcription errors, a copyright or other intellectual property infringement, a defective or damaged disk or other medium, a computer virus or computer codes that damage or cannot be read by your equipment. 1. F2. Limited warranty. Disclaimer of damages except for the right of replacement or refund, described in paragraph 1. F3. The Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation, the owner of the Project Gutenberg trademark, and any other party distributing a Project Gutenberg trademark electronic work under this agreement, disclaim all liability to you for damages, costs and expenses, including legal fees. You agree that you have no remedies for negligence, strict liability, breach of warranty or breach of contract, except those provided in paragraph 1. F3. You agree that the foundation, the trademark owner, and any distributor under this agreement will not be liable to you for actual, direct, indirect, consequential, punitive or incidental damages, even if you give notice of the possibility of such damage. 1. F3. Limited right of replacement or refund. If you discover a defect in this electronic work within 90 days of receiving it, you can receive a refund of the money, if any, you paid for it by sending a written explanation to the person you received the work from. If you received the work on a physical medium, you must return the medium with your written explanation. The person or entity that provided you with the defective work may elect to provide a replacement copy in lieu of a refund. If you received the work electronically, the person or entity providing it to you may choose to give you a second opportunity to receive the work electronically, in lieu of a refund. If the second copy is also defective, you may demand a refund in writing without further opportunities to fix the problem. 1 F4. Except for the limited right of replacement or refund set forth in paragraph 1. F3. This work is provided to you as is, with no other warranties of any kind, express or implied, including but not limited to warranties of merchantability or fitness for any purpose. 1. F5. Some states do not allow disclaimers of certain implied warranties or the exclusion or limitation of certain types of damages. If any disclaimer or limitation set forth in this agreement violates the law of the state applicable to this agreement, the agreement shall be interpreted to make the maximum disclaimer or limitation permitted by the applicable state law. The invalidity or unenforceability of any provision of this agreement shall not void the remaining provisions. 1. F6. Indemnity. You agree to indemnify and hold the foundation, the trademark owner, any agent or employee of the foundation, anyone in accordance with this agreement, and any volunteers associated with the electronic works, harmless from all liability, costs and expenses, including legal fees, that arise directly or indirectly from any of the following which you do or cause to occur. A. Distribution of this defect you cause. Electronic works in formats readable by the widest variety of computers, including obsolete, old, middle-aged and new computers. It exists because of the efforts of hundreds of volunteers and donations from people in all walks of life. Volunteers and financial support to provide volunteers with the remain freely available for generations to come. In 2001, the Project Gutenberg Literary Archive Foundation was created to provide a secure archive foundation and how your efforts and donations can help. See sections 3 and 4 and the Foundation information page at www.gutenberg.org. 501. c. 3. Educational corporation organized under the laws of the state of Mississippi and granted tax-exempt status by the Internal Revenue Service. The Foundation's EIN, or Federal Tax Identification Archive Foundation, are tax-deductible to the full extent permitted by U.S. federal laws and your state's laws. The Foundation's business office is located at 41 Watchung Plaza #516, Montclair NJ 07042 USA, +1 862 621 to 9288. Email contact links and up-to-date contact information can be found at the Foundation's website and official page at www.gutenberg.org/contact Literary Archive Foundation public support and donations to carry out its mission of increasing the number of public domain and licensed works that can be freely distributed in machine-readable form accessible by the widest array of equipment, including outdated equipment. Many small donations, $1 to $5,000, are particularly important to maintaining tax-exempt status with the IRS. The Foundation is committed to complying with the laws regulating charities and charitable donations in all 50 states of the United States. Compliance requirements are not uniform, and it takes a considerable effort, much paperwork and many fees to meet and keep up with these requirements. We do not solicit donations in locations where we have not received written confirmation of compliance. To send donations or determine the status of compliance for any particular state, visit www.gutenberg.org/donate. While we cannot and do not solicit contributions from states where we have not met the solicitation requirements, we know of no prohibition against accepting unsolicited donations from donors in such states who approach us with offers to donate. International donations are gratefully accepted, but we cannot make any statements concerning tax treatment of donations received from outside the United States. U.S. laws alone swamp our small staff, methods and addresses. Donations are accepted in a number of other ways, including checks, online payments, and credit card donations. To donate, please visit www.gutenberg.org/donate. Professor Michael S. Hart was the originator of the Project Gutenberg concept of a library of electronic works that could be freely shared with anyone. For 40 years, he produced and volunteer support editions, all of which are confirmed as not protected by copyright in the U.S., unless a copyright notice is included. Thus, we do not necessarily keep e-books in compliance with any particular paper edition. Most people start at our website, which has the main PG search facility, www.gutenberg.org, Archive Foundation, how to help produce our new e-books, and how to subscribe to our email newsletter to hear about new e-books.